The Rebel.media has just returned from the longest undefended international border in the world, the 49th parallel. It's what separates Canada from the United States. Now, up until really recently, no one on either side gave that border much thought. But now, refugees welcome Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Well, he's invited the world to Canada. As you're about to see, they're heeding his call. Reports of fake refugees flooding the 49th from all ends during the winter months, and even more so now, is what led Canada's top cops, the RCMP, to make the call that they will no longer be announcing weekly updates on how many people exactly are illegally crossing into Canada. Well, the Rebel, we learned of a location of one of the nearby border crossings between Quebec, Canada and Champlain, New York. So we made the 6-hour drive from Toronto. Now, within minutes of our arrival, a young, single, well-dressed male arrived for the sole purpose of illegally crossing into Canada. He claims he came from Syria. Where are you from?
Syria.
So here you cannot cross here. It's illegal to cross over here.
I cannot stay there.
You need to report to the Canadian border. 3 miles that way.
Okay, arrest me from here. You inform them.
Right, over there. Under arrest.
Shortly after witnessing the shocking, almost relaxed ease with which the border crossing by cab then foot took place, a Muslim couple and their child arrived, describing themselves as tourists to America from Turkey looking for refugee status in Canada. Then, after sundown, another single male crossed illegally into Canada looking like, well, anything but a starving refugee. After watching the RCMP officers treated as bellhops at the border, the Rebel wanted to get a clearer picture of what types of people are illegally crossing into Canada. Who are they? Where are they from? And just how frequently is this happening? So we went to the people at the front lines, taxi and bus drivers. These are the people tasked with shuttling these fake refugees. So we traveled about 30 minutes south of the border to Plattsburgh, New York, the final stop for many of these migrants. It's there that a Greyhound bus drops them off at the terminal, where cabs wait in line to bring them to the border. When we asked the drivers who these illegals are and how many are crossing into Canada, well, we got a clear and consistent account. How many would you say usually come in a busload, sir? How many would you say usually come in a busload?
Sometimes 10, 20,
Sometimes 10 or 20, hey? One of the drivers that we met in Plattsburgh agreed to take us to the border for a ride along with his migrant fare, someone he had coordinated to pick up in advance of his Greyhound's arrival. The man was a Muslim traveling alone from Eritrea. The reason he fled his country, leaving his wife and kids behind, he didn't want to be drafted to their army. Take a look. When did you come to America?
Okay, I came to America in order to cross to Canada.
So when did you come? What day? How long?
Before 10 days.
So 10 days you came from Eritrea. How? By boat? By airplane?
No, in airplane.
Why did you want to leave Eritrea?
This time I was with the national service team, with the national service, but what happens? They're returning back to the service again.
So in other words, for the military, they wanted you to go fight in the military? Is that right? The national service?
The national service, yeah. They make us not fight. There is no fight now, but they, under the military, national service, they keep you with them. I left my family there. They will get in their home. But first, I will keep myself alive.
Legal act, okay?
Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
You need
need to go to the customs, which is at 4 kilometers that way. The,
No, I need here.
Yeah, but you either go back.
Okay.
I'll need to arrest you to come back.
The best way is just to go through the border and where you're supposed to go. You can get the paperwork done there.
You're the
No.
one to arrest you.
I
understand
prefer
that?
here. Huh?
Sorry?
I prefer to come.
If you want to be arrested,
Right,
it's up
but
to
you're
you.
gonna be arrested if you come here.
Okay, okay.
Okay, sir.
So what's
Stop
up?
there.
Bring your stuff.
Well, on the ground in Champlain, one cab driver, in conversation with a rebel producer, divulged that the cab company for which he worked, Town Taxi, was offering special services to border jumpers.
We were recording the audio the whole time, and I got a nice long
Yeah,
shot
but
of
when
his
you
face.
walked away, he said the best part.
What do you say?
He said that he picks him up from the bus stop,
Yeah.
brings him back to the taxi office.
Yeah.
The boss of the taxi company goes through all their work, makes sure they have visa and all the documents, and then they proceed to drive them from the office to here to help them make sure they can get over the border.
So the rebel followed up. We paid Town Taxi HQ a visit where we were met by a man named Victor who said that he was the owner of the business. He then gave us a very detailed description of what exactly was meant by special services. Coordinated, guaranteed, illegal entry into Canada for a fee. Brace yourselves. Tube.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay. The reason why I asked is because we operate here a little bit differently than the other cab companies in town.
Okay.
And what we do, we don't want to shed light on. Well, let's just say we ensure that the people make it across the border safe, make it to the border safely. The ones that are not here legally. And that's what we do.
So the ones that are not here legally, would you say that, I have so many questions. So when you say you help them cross the border, make sure that they get across, do you mean doing more than kind of just driving them there?
Like I said, what we do is we don't want light shed on
Yeah.
certain things. There's a lot of people that cross the border. They're not here legally
Right.
in the United States. So a lot of those guys, they would be deported back to their country if they're caught here.
Right.
Or by Border Patrol. The objective is to get them to the border, the ones that are not here legally. Everyone that we take up now, we bring them in the office, we look through the documentation, and basically somewhat like an interview.
When you're interviewing these families, so to speak, is it just you and is it always you?
No, it starts when they step foot in the car. A few questions are asked and that information is passed on, and then they get here and then we ask more questions. And
So it's quite an elaborate network then. It starts, does every driver bring them to you? So this is always a stop before they get to the border, no matter what.
yes. Mostly they're phone calls. Sometimes if our guys are not busy, they'll stop by the bus, but that's rare. I think you guys seen one of our guys last night.
Yeah.
So that was just a regular drive-through. For the most part, they had their paperwork all set. We verified that here before we left, and we contacted the other side to make sure that the other side was at the border, at the Roxanne Road.
So when you say you contact the other side, you mean the Canadian RCMP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a direct line to a particular officer, or?
I don't think it's a particular officer, but yeah, we have a direct line.
So does the RCMP, do they know that you guys are helping out these families?
We really don't discuss it because I don't know quite how legal it is. Everybody in our staff makes sure that they utilize every tool possible to get them there safely.
What kind of tools?
I can't, really don't.
Give me an idea.
It would have to be off record without the microphone in my face. No, we just we get them there. We get them there without them being picked up by Border Patrol. So
Do you have contacts in Border Patrol?
Some.
Can I ask if your connections, would you say they're roughly equal on both sides of the border, or are there more folks helping you out on the American side than the Canadian side?
Both sides.
On both sides. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did they learn about you and the special services that you're able to provide?
Word of mouth, I guess. Family to family, or there's people that's called they're like brokers. I want to say, and they know of us. So some guys, I would have to assume that it's more of just a payday for them.
Yeah.
For us, it's not so much. I think, yeah, for us, it's not so much.
Does it vary how much you charge them?
We charge $85 just for the single person, but it varies. It's a Roxanne Road because there's a lot of different things that the drivers have to encounter. You know, border patrol and things like that. So,
how do you know that the people that you're helping are good people?
well, there's no real way to tell if anyone's a good person or not. We just go off what our gut tells us.
Are you worried, say, that there are people who are now crossing into Canada who do not have good intentions?
Yeah, and that is a worry. Definitely a worry.
Now, you might have noticed that Victor used the term brokers to describe what seemed like a wider network of people coordinating illegal entry into Canada for a fee, something another cab driver confirmed that he too had been in contact with people that he referred to as runners. The runners, did you say?
I call them runners, yeah. They people bring them from like Virginia here, like this morning, Brad. From Virginia, they brought them to Plattsburgh, and then gave me $150 this morning for his family, you know.
So we went back to Town Taxi in hopes of sitting in during one of their vetting sessions with a migrant. Victor said that he didn't have any sessions planned for that day, but he then proceeded to describe in much greater detail the alleged cross-country network of runners and brokers, people brokers, as he puts it, profiting from the fake refugee railroad into Canada. One of the cab drivers told us that he deals with people who he calls his runners from other states. People who are helping these people, I imagine how you do, just making sure that they get to the next step. Do you have any sort of contact with any of these people?
Runners, sometimes they're like brokers. People brokers. They're the worst kind. I mean, they're in it for the money, but some of them genuinely care. The runners care, the brokers don't.
So the brokers, do you ever meet the brokers?
Every once in a while. No, don't film us, please. Okay. No, I'm just letting you know. All right. No, you're good.
So do you ever meet the brokers?
No, I've never met the brokers.
What about the runners?
I've met the runners. Yeah.
Meantime, Town Taxi employees, well, they corroborated every detail of the so-called special services that they provide. And basically the plan is next time you've got a refugee family, do you usually bring them back over here first?
Yeah, sometimes we do. Make sure they got all their paperwork, and hate to get them there. Then they get to the border, they're only going to get detained and locked up and sent back. And
so you make sure. So look, if you could give us a call, basically as soon as you got them, we'll make it worth your while. We want to be able to kind of just show the step-by-step, behind the scenes, what these people have to go through and how you guys are helping out.
Yeah, because we make sure they got their visa or whatever it is and their passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you get them there, they ain't got none of that. You know what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And Town Taxi isn't the only one who stands to make a profit from trafficking fake refugees. Other cabbies, they admitted it too. Canada's wide open border means easy cash and big business.
Just like they say they charge $40 and $50. I can show you a text right here that I got this morning.
What's it say?
From one of the city cab drivers. It says, your son isn't very aggressive at the bus. He's letting Kurt walk on him. I went to the Roxham Road for $230 off the 3 o'clock bus.
So $230?
Yeah.
Wow. So what would you say is like the going rate?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even really associate with the other ones, but they say stuff like that, like C&L taxi. They get, well, he tried to get $100 a piece. There was 8 people. Oh yeah, he tried to get $100 a piece on them. They were my people. They waited for me. So he didn't get them, number one, but yeah, that's what he told them.
Yeah, we heard from one of the cab companies that they're charging $80, so that's just a load of crock, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly.
You think if some of the cab companies are offering them extra services, then they're going to charge even more?
Of course.
So, a flood of fake refugees, the vast majority of whom are single men from the Middle East, illegally entering Canada from the United States, a countries-wide network, trafficking humans to Canada for a fee, all at the Prime Minister's invitation. It's a wild story. It is a huge and important story. And yet, the mainstream media seems totally disinterested in covering it, even if it is unfolding in their own backyard. Literally. Watch this. Okay, so Rebel Media on the ground right now staking out Town Taxi, which is the center of this human trafficking ring that we have now discovered. I'm waiting out here and we see NBC trucks driving by us like crazy. And I'm thinking, holy smokes, we're about to be scooped. So I decide we're going to go back to where all the NBC trucks are going to and fro. Maybe there's more to the story back there. Let's go check it out. So I want to show you exactly what that drive was like. Brace yourselves. All right, so that green building right over there is the headquarters of Town Taxi. Basically where this little truck depot was is where we were situated. So we see all of these NBC trucks coming to and fro. They get to this street right here and all of them were taking a left. So we're like, okay, let's take a left. What's back there? And what do we see? A sign that says visitors for Channel 5, wait for it. Satellites. This is NBC offices. These are their TV studios. That took us what, 15 seconds? NBC has an illegal human trafficking ring that is occurring in their backyard. We talk about the mainstream media and about their negligence and their willful blindness and their spin, but like this is a whole different level. This is I could not write this sort of like this is truth stranger than fiction. We drove 6 hours from Toronto to get here and follow the facts wherever they lead. NBC, this is mainstream media personified, literally has an illegal human trafficking ring happening in their own backyard, and they can't even travel 15 darn seconds to figure it out. It's amazing. It is amazing. And what I've just shown you is just some of the hours of footage we acquired. Footage that the Rebel.media will be releasing over the next several days. And rest assured, just because the political establishment manufactured this fake refugee crisis and the mainstream media and police fat cats are deliberately concealing the details does not mean that we are about to drop this story. Actually, our coverage has just begun. For the Rebel.media, I'm Faith Goldie. If you have a tip that you'd like us to investigate, email us at tips@therebel.media. And for all of our original journalism, click below and subscribe to our YouTube channel.